10 Cloverfield Lane is a very interesting movie. From its unusual origins to its out-of-nowhere release, 8 years after its predecessor. Yeah, this movie is a sequel, the second film in the Cloverfield franchise. But it's not a flat-out sequel. It has more in common with the themes and tone of the previous movie than actual character and story connections, these being extremely subtle and irrelevant. Because of this, J.J. Abrams, the creator of the franchise, refers to the movie as a spiritual successor. To understand this a little better, let's take a look at a brief summary of the two movies. Cloverfield is a story about a group of friends trying to survive the sudden attack of a giant creature in New York, and the desperate attempts of Rob to reach his girlfriend, Beth, who is stuck in her apartment on the other side of the city. 10 Cloverfield Lane tells the story of Michelle, a woman that suffers a car accident and wakes up in an underground bunker. Howard, the man who rescued her, says that the world has suffered an attack and it's very dangerous to leave the shelter. Now, stuck in this strange place with a mysterious man, Michelle will try to find out what's really going on. The desire to make a sequel, but not exactly Cloverfield 2, resulted in this movie being absorbed into the franchise, which became sort of a Twilight Zone. Individual stories tackling themes like science fiction, horror, mystery, and suspense. It's a shame that the franchise got axed in its third entry. This concept for a series of movies was something very interesting, being able to always create new and distinct films, but with a similar atmosphere. Cloverfield Lane was initially a spec script called The Cellar, written by Josh Campbell and Matt Stucken, that was making rounds in Hollywood since 2012. Paramount, in a certain moment, decided to buy the script and put Damien Chazelle, no one other than the writer-director of recent successes Whiplash and La La Land, in charge of rewriting parts of the script and to possibly direct the flick, which fortunately never happened. I say fortunately, because he went on to direct the fantastic Whiplash, and Paramount hired a newbie, Dan Trachtenberg. This was his first feature film, having only directed an excellent short film based on the Portal game franchise, called Portal No Escape, which can be watched in its entirety on YouTube. A lot of the ideas that make Cloverfield Lane such a good movie can already be seen in the short film, since both tell a story focused on the point of view of a singular character in a mysterious, claustrophobic location. The director, after Cloverfield, directed Playtest, a great episode in the third season of Black Mirror, where he used similar techniques to create tension and suspense in the same way as he did in Portal and Cloverfield. And Cloverfield Lane is a really good movie, even better than its predecessor, the original Cloverfield. So what I want to discuss in this video is, why is Cloverfield Lane so good? How can it take so much advantage of its simple premise and hold the attention of who's watching it until the very end? For that, it's important to clarify the differences and relationships between tension, suspense, and mystery. Suspense and mystery deal with information. According to Lovecraft, the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. In other words,
and you always fear what you don't understand.
Mystery is lack of information. So when we reveal any small detail, that's when suspense shows up, making us anxious, waiting for something to happen. Alfred Hitchcock understood and used these concepts masterfully. No wonder he's known as the Master of Suspense. In his own words,
you see, mystery is an intellectual process, but suspense is essentially an emotional process. Therefore, you can only get the suspense element going by giving the audience information.
On the other hand, tension is the feeling. It is what makes us feel uneasy. A series of small details leading up to an event. We can feel tense without waiting for something to happen, without suspense. But suspense does not exist without tension. You cannot be anxiously waiting for something to happen without feeling tense.
The element of suspense is giving an audience information. Now, you and I are sitting here. Suddenly a bomb goes off. Up we go, blown to smithereens. What have the audience had watching this scene? 5 or 10 seconds of shock. Now, we do the scene over again, but we tell the audience there's a bomb underneath this table and it's going to go off in 5 minutes. Now, this innocuous conversation about football becomes very potent. They say, don't talk about football, there's a bomb under there. That's what they want to tell us. Then their anxieties will be as long as that clock ticks away. But the bomb must never go off.
And that's where the magic happens. Like Hitchcock said, the bomb may never explode. The resolution to the conflict, the answer to the question, the revelation of the mystery must be extended for as long as possible. Like a rope, until its very limit, releasing the tension only when it snaps. The longer it takes, the more tense we feel, more uneasy. Each small moment leaving us at the edge of our seats. The best horror movies make great use of this technique, not giving us any answers and never releasing the tension for the entire movie. Cloverfield Lane plays around with the same idea, using these three concepts, mystery, tension, and suspense, to make us feel constantly anxious. Always increasing the feeling of tension in the story by giving us just enough information to increase the suspense, while still keeping a sense of mystery. Creating a film with these ideas was always the goal of the director while directing the film.
Suspense films, I really loved Alfred Hitchcock movies, and the idea of making something that I grew up loving action movies in particular, and I just love when I'm physically affected by a movie. The idea of my heart racing and my palms sweating, and being moved to the edge or to the back of your seat by something that is completely manufactured and imaginative is like the greatest thing. It's one thing to be emotionally moved, it's one thing to laugh, but it's another thing for your body to like actually change. I think is super rad. So and trying to understand the craft of it, trying to understand growing up, what could cause that, what could make that, always was the carrot on the stick for me, and that's what drove me to make something like this for sure.
Trachtenberg also gave a lot of attention to the geography of his scenes, always making the space where the characters are in very clear to the audience, along with their positioning and objects on the scene, to increase even further the tension and suspense. Taking cues from movies like Jaws, Empire of the Sun, Ben-Hur, Mad Max, and also Hitchcock. For example, since the beginning of the film, we are fully aware of the space the characters are in, including the placement of objects in it. When Michelle wakes up, we are able to understand her environment, what's in it, and where things are. And for the rest of the movie, this happens many times. We can easily understand the shelter and where the characters are. Where is the kitchen, Michelle's room, the bathroom, and the stairs that lead outside. The director is always showing us objects that are relevant to the scenes to increase the tension, making always very clear what the characters are thinking. Like in this dinner sequence, where Michelle wants to take Howard's keys, or on the first scene in the shelter, where she wants to catch Howard off guard to try and escape. Another important lesson that the movie learned from Hitchcock is how the use of the hierarchy of knowledge can influence tension.
The Hitchcock lesson is all about the hierarchy of knowledge, right? It's all about when the audience knows something that the main character knows, that's tension. And when the main character knows something that the audience knows, that's tension.
And since this film is entirely told from the point of view of the protagonist, another very strong influence on the use of suspense and tension comes from Rosemary's Baby. In the film, Rosemary recently moved to a new apartment with her husband, but she starts to hear and dream about very strange things. And when she gets pregnant, she starts to suspect her new neighbors may have sinister plans for her baby. In these two movies, we just know what the protagonists know. We are in an unknown place, in questionable circumstances, with suspicious individuals, really limiting our knowledge and making us fear and suspect the same as them. This creates a constant atmosphere of tension, always raising the suspense and leaving us uneasy until the end of the movie. Michelle herself provides a lot of this constant atmosphere of tension. When we meet her at the beginning of the film, she's packing and leaving her boyfriend. She's clearly not interested in solving their issues, avoiding all of his attempts to communicate with her. During the movie, we're given a little more context about her reasons.
I did what I always do when things get hard. I just panicked and ran.
Still vague, but more than context, this piece of dialogue shows us a side of Michelle's personality that increases tension in the story. She is a person that tends to run away from difficult situations. However, soon she won't be able to do so, and will have to face her fears. This tells us not only about her personality, but also her main conflict in the story, the changes she will have to go through during the film, and most importantly, it's a big source of tension in the narrative. Cloverfield Lane is a constant uncertainty. We are always missing some important information, and the moment we think that we are finally able to understand what's really going on, we are presented to a new situation that creates a new source of suspense, making us question the intentions of the characters and what is really happening, raising the tension. The movie is only interested in releasing tension and ending suspense so that it can introduce us to a new source for suspense and tension. And by constantly doing so until the very end, while challenging and forcing a change in our point of view main character, is how Cloverfield Lane is able to be so effective with its use of tension and suspense, holding our attention until the very end. Hello! Thank you so much for watching the very first video of my channel. My name is Igor, and on this channel I'll be breaking down stories from movies, comics, TV shows, anime and manga. So if you like this video, I'm sure you're going to enjoy the next videos coming out on the channel. So make sure to subscribe and follow me on Instagram so you don't miss any of the future videos, because next month I'll be talking about the creator of one of the biggest comic books in history and the secret behind his amazing success. See you next month.